nothing in this world I love more than travelling, and I'm at the happy point. All the preparation work is done, so now I'm going to celebrate my birthday, catch up with some friends, head to France. I've known Leap a long time. I've spent a lot of time in Africa, so I'll be really happy to catch up with him. And I'm going to take you guys along with me. All the preparation was done now and it was time to relax. As always, on my birthday I went down to the Sydney Boat Show and picked out the boat I liked the best. If you think you're doing well in life, go to the Sydney Boat Show and you'll find out how poor you really are. And Jimmy and me made our way to the motor room. Here we are in the engine room of a $12 million boat. Just thought you'd be interested. Jimmy's busily working on it. He says he'll have the problem fixed shortly. Then the pair of us thought it'd be a good idea to send a video to Leap in France, the person I'd be staying with, from the bridge of the boat, or should I more correctly call it a ship. Well, Leap, I've set the navigation computer and very shortly we'll be departing for France. Look forward to seeing you, mate. Make sure you've got plenty of champagne and that there ready for us when we get there.
Yes, sir.
After spending an enjoyable day looking at things we couldn't afford, we thought it was time to settle down to a nice cold Guinness. And again, pass the message on to France. Well, brother, even got myself a lei. We're just enjoying a nice cold ale right now. Don't know that you'd get something like that in France. Ah, yes. Yeah, don't know whether you'd get something like that in France. We've had a good day. Happy to say that I was very wrong about that. Guinness is freely available throughout France, and my local watering hole was the Glenworth Irish pub in Arras, France, where the barman actually shouted me a couple. If ever you're in the area and you like some light refreshment and a beautiful meal, I highly recommend this establishment. After a great day and a great night, Jimmy and me left Sydney and headed home. Then, as tradition dictates, the boys and me went out in my boat, one I actually can afford, and a barbecue thereafter at my house. We have Command driving the boat, and he caught the first fish today. He threw it back because it was undersized. It really wasn't, but I was just jealous, but he got the first fish. He's doing a good job there. Actually he's doing it like a pro. My flight time was absolutely horrible, and Command suggested that I spend the night at his house so I can catch my plane on time. Eventually a fish was caught of a proper size, and Baraka took it home to his girlfriend. Good friend of mine, Emmanuel, enjoying a quiet ale while we cook the barbecue here, and here I am all ready to start my adventure in France. I'm sure there'll be many stories to tell. The first leg I boarded a train at Newcastle and headed to Warwick Farm, to where Command lives, and was met by the unfortunate news that Command had been hit by a car, but he said everything was alright. The car was not too badly damaged in the collision. Here we are on board an Australian train, which is the cheapest way and the most efficient way to get to the airport. Despite Command's bravado, I could see all things were not fine, but thoughtfully I packed a couple of bottles of wine which didn't see the night out, and in the morning Command said that my snoring was more painful than the collision with the car. In the morning I was a little groggy, but more likely it was because Command didn't have any good coffee. Then I made my way on to Central Station and eventually to Kingsford Smith International Airport. Upon arrival at Central Station, I immediately went looking for a coffee, which was needed greatly. Welcome to Sydney International Airport. Not one of my favourite airports in the world, but I managed to get through, check in and everything okay. In a number of hours I'll be boarding my plane. I'm not flying on this one, I'm actually flying Thai Airways. I found Thai Airways to be a very good airline to fly with. In the distance there was the bird that was going to take me between Australia and Bangkok, the next leg on my journey. With a great relief, I've made it on the plane. In a few hours I'll be landing in Bangkok, Thailand, and was greatly looking forward to my breakfast. The time zones got me again, dinner, but would you get a load of this? The quality of the food on Thai Airlines is simply magnificent. Suvarnabhumi International Airport in Bangkok is a magnificent sight at night. But a word of warning, my bags were inspected 3 times before boarding the plane, and they are very, very strict on the size of fluids. So be careful if you go to this place, and filming there is very difficult to do. That's why I didn't. However, I did capture a beautiful photo of a dragon. Furthermore, on my return home there was an hour between flights, and I was concerned that I was going to miss my connection on account of the stringent checks at this particular airport. On board another plane and bound for Munich, Germany this time. The airlines changed their menu according to their destination. For breakfast I had some beautiful German sausages washed down by a beautiful Singer beer, one of the great beers of the world and available in Thailand. What a sterile looking place was Munich Airport. Taxiing down the runway I had arrived in Germany. To say I was excited was very much of an understatement. After landing, I was hustled towards the immigration section and was barked at by the Germans, embarrassing myself and making them laugh by pulling out my underwear instead of some documentation that they wished. I had told everybody before I left I was going to have a Löwenbräu in Munich Airport no matter what it cost, but that was not to be. The time taken between flights didn't allow sufficient time to enjoy the glorious beverage. Staring at the window, I was contemplating the next leg of my journey from Munich to Paris, and was changing airlines. Even though the tickets had been bought through Thai, they had changed us over to Lufthansa for this length of the journey, and was going to board a most unusual aircraft, or at least to me at least, a Bombardier CRJ 900, and on the inside it's just as stark as Munich Airport is. As the plane took off, I bid farewell to Germany. I had been in almost constant communication with Leap and was sick of the question, how much longer before you're going to get here? And at this stage of the journey I was so sick of airports, they really drain you, and wasn't really sure what to expect when I arrived in Paris. It was also surprising how rural both Germany and France are. I expected to see endless rows of houses from the air, but all I saw was beautiful countryside. Before I knew it, I was in yet another airport, Charles de Gaulle Airport. And you can say that the French are much more stylish than the Germans. And what a breeze it was. I was expecting to be hassled at immigration and was holding my passport, waiting for it to be stamped, and next thing I knew I was standing inside Paris. And then I was about to have my first experience with the trains in France. I had to make my way to Nort-Gat train station. Thank God for that friend who gave me advice on how to do it. Someone I don't even know the name of, but thank you very much. The objective was to travel between Paris and Arras. The advice I'd gotten from Google was I needed to stop in Amiens first. This was proven to be incorrect, and it was even possible to get a direct train between the airport and Arras, but I didn't know this until it was too late. Noordgat Station is an architectural wonder, but the gloss soon fades when you're trying to use your schoolboy French to secure a ticket and get on a train, or should I make that preschool French? And after travelling for 3 days, I wasn't as on the job as I should have been. The ticketing system for France leaves something to be desired, with where you buy the ticket from and the time you buy the ticket for varying the price greatly on the bullet trains, which are the ones I needed to do such a journey. And the displays do not show stops along the way, simply final destinations. The French trains don't muck around, they really move, and I pulled out the GPS in my phone to see just how fast I was going, and it turns out that I was doing almost 300 kilometers an hour. The train finally pulled up into Arras station, and Leap was there waiting for me. Although we had been talking for years, I'd never met him in person, and I was never so happy to see anybody. There was a 1.5 kilometre walk in front of us, at which time we spent most of the time talking, and then we made our way up Leap Street, and I was so happy to find his front door. His house was incredibly clean and incredibly well cared for, and I must say, after travelling widely throughout Africa, Sudanese hospitality is amongst the best. Although it can feel a bit overprotective at times, but that's part of the territory. Upon my arrival, Leap suggested that I have a shower, which was probably a polite way of saying you stink after travelling for 3 days without one. I was treated like a rock star from Australia, although that is far from true, and a few of Leap's friends were there to meet me, and they cooked a magnificent meal, the likes of which I will never forget. Before leaving Australia, I said to Leap, should I bring an airbed to sleep on, and he insisted that I didn't, and I was horrified when he slept in the floor while I slept on his nice comfortable bed. This is another example of the goodness of Sudanese people and their hospitality. The very next day we went searching for some French wine, and when Leap heard of the experience in the train station, he thought it wise to give me some French lessons.
Hello everyone, this is Craig. He's from Australia and now he's going to introduce himself to you in French. So Craig.
Buongiorno.
Bonjour.
Je m'appelle Craig.
Je m'appelle Craig.
Je m'appelle Craig.
Ouais. Je suis australien.
Oui.
Répète la famille. Je suis australien.
Je suis australien.
Je suis australien.
Je suis australien.
Je suis venu ici en France.
Je vous ai dit, en France.
Je suis
venu
en France.
En France, kangaroo, witch doctor.
Les vacances. Witch doctor. The wine was secured with the unfortunate news that Leap did not own a bottle opener, as all wine in France is corked, so we had to go and get one before opening the bottles. Well, it is true that the glass may be somewhat inappropriate. At last we're getting to have a beautiful French wine, and it's expensive, but it tastes nice. Not that I was getting homesick, but I found myself right next to a puddle that looked like a map of Australia, and the trip was only just getting warmed up, but sadly a video must be ended somewhere. I've enjoyed making it, I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Please subscribe, and there is a lot more to come.